This is Module 2, Lesson 2.06 for 6th grade. Due this Friday at 4 o'clock. 2.06, introduce your ideas and assignment. 1 introduction paragraph for your compare and contrast article. 2.07, connect your ideas. It's a quiz about transitions. There's a resource on your PACE chart that will help you with transitions. And 2.08, what's your big idea? 2 body paragraphs of your compare and contrast article. So there are 3 things due on Friday. Please go through, read the lessons, watch the video, and do the assignments. And then if you have any questions, call or text me so I can help you. So we're going to talk about 2.06, which is your objective of the introduction paragraph for your cause and effect essay. So after completing this lesson, you will be able to write an effective introduction for a compare and contrast informational text. So when you're done with 2.06, your assignment is to write your introduction paragraph. And I want you to remember when you're writing your introduction paragraph that your introduction is like a triangle. You start with your hook, grab the reader's attention with your hook, you give a little bit of important information or background, and then you end with your thesis. The thesis is kind of the building block. It's the main idea of your entire essay. So those are the 3 parts to your introduction. What we're going to talk about first is the hook, because that's the first 1 or 2 sentences of your introductory paragraph. So there are many ways to hook a reader. It's kind of like fishing. You want to grab the reader's attention. A hook can be a thought-provoking question or a surprising fact. So for this introduction, there's only 2 hooks that I want you to use. Either a thought-provoking question or a surprising fact. Okay? You may have learned other hooks or other ways to go about that in your classes prior to this. For this assignment, these are the 2 that you can use. Just one of these, either a thought-provoking question or a surprising fact. And now we get into the thesis. The thesis is the last sentence of your introduction. So you're going to do your hook. We're going to go back a couple of slides. So we're going to look at our triangle again. Your hook, we've talked about that. We're going to skip the important background information for a minute, and we are going to focus on your thesis. Okay? So your thesis comes at the very end of your paragraph. For your introduction, it's the last sentence. Your thesis is the idea you want to prove. So make sure in your notes you have what a thesis is. The first step in writing a good introduction is writing the thesis statement. The thesis statement is a complete sentence that identifies the central idea of the text. The thesis is the author's idea about the topic that can be supported with valid evidence. It is usually placed at the end of the introduction. Okay? So it's a complete sentence that identifies the central idea of your text. Okay? And what we want you to remember is that a thesis states the author's specific idea about the topic in 1 sentence. So you're the author. So your thesis statement is going to be a 1-sentence specific idea about your topic. It can be supported with valid evidence, such as facts, expert testimony, and research. So you want to support your thesis. Everything in your entire essay will relate back to your thesis. And then really important, it does not include feelings or emotions. So no I think or I feel, okay? Because your thesis is, and the whole essay is written in 3rd person. So it should not include feelings or emotion. And it is written in the third person point of view. No use of the pronoun I. So throughout your entire essay, you should not use I. Okay? And here's your special note. If a thesis cannot be supported with valid evidence, then it is not a thesis. So let's look again at what a thesis is. It's a complete sentence that identifies the central idea of the text. It's the main idea of the entire essay. Everything in the essay goes back and relates to your thesis statement. So the thesis statement is probably the most important sentence in your entire essay. So we're going to work a little bit more with our thesis statements. The thesis is the idea that you want to prove. Let's look at the examples of strong and weak thesis statements. And this is right from your notes, right from your lesson. So you can go back and refer to this. Hopefully you've already read your lesson and we're reviewing together. So your thesis. Programs exist in which teens help other teens. Okay, let's look at this thesis first. Programs exist in which teens help other teens. Is it weak or is it strong? It's weak. This is not a thesis statement. It simply states a fact. A strong thesis presents an opinion and suggests how the writer will support that opinion. Okay, but you want to do that with third person point of view. Okay, let's look at the next one. It is so cool that programs exist in which teens help other teens. That's also a weak thesis. It expresses an opinion, but not one that can be supported by facts. It does not provide any hints about what information will follow. And using words like so cool, it kind of gives you a hint that it's not really a strong thesis statement, it's opinion that's not supported by facts. So let's look at this last one. Programs in which teens help other teens have become more popular in recent years. Well, that's interesting. That's a pretty strong thesis. And I know that by reading that the entire essay is going to be about programs where teens help each other and help other people. It's a strong thesis statement. It presents an opinion and previews the information that will follow. You can tell that everything in this essay will relate back to that thesis, that programs in which teens helping other teens have become more popular in recent years. Okay? So your thesis should look more like what we highlighted in green. Strong, solid thesis. It will help your entire essay. Okay? So this is for a hook, okay? But let's look at this. So when we talk about hooks, a fact that takes the reader by surprise would be a really good hook. So to review for the hook, there's two things that we could do for a hook. We can use a thought-provoking question or a surprising fact. So here is an example of a fact that takes the reader by surprise. It has been estimated that there are around 60 million horses and 5 billion rats in the world. Rats and horses might not be two animals that come to mind when you think of helpers. And then it goes on to talk about hero rats and gentle carousel therapy horses. Okay? This is a great hook because it's a fact that takes the reader by surprise. I know that probably in 5th grade you had a lot of examples using questions. So I'd like you guys to practice more with your introduction by using a fact that takes the reader by surprise. Okay? So if you can, for your hook, use a fact that takes the reader by surprise. And let's look at the introduction. Okay? And what we're looking for, this is where we're talking about your background information. Okay? So you have your hook. You have your thesis, but we still need to talk about important information. The important information is kind of your background information. It goes between the hook and the thesis, and it kind of bridges the gap between the hook, the interesting, thought-provoking fact or the question and the thesis. So you need a little bit of background information, but you don't want to do any direct quotes or a lot of information. You're just giving some general information to help your introduction transition to the thesis. So let's look at these and figure out which one would be the best general information. Hook, have you ever thought about dogs and cats as volunteers in your community? Thesis, dogs and cats have many similarities, but they can both help their communities in different ways. Okay. So let's look at our 3 examples. Animals that are normally kept as pets can provide much needed help to people in our communities. Cats are really cute. I prefer them to dogs as pets. 56% of households in America have many different types of pets. Okay? So we're writing about dogs and cats that help their communities in different ways. What background information would really help connect these 2 ideas together? That would be this one, this first one. Animals that are normally kept as pets provide much needed help to people in our communities. And then you can go on to the thesis, dogs and cats have similarities, but they can both help their communities in very different ways. So the best background information would be the first one. Cats are really cute. I prefer them to dogs as pets. That's more of an opinion. And it doesn't really belong in this. 56% of households in America have many different types of pets. It's a little bit applicable, but it doesn't talk about the thesis, which is how dogs and cats help their communities. And there are more examples of this in your lesson, so as you go through and read, definitely do the interactive and you'll help understand what type of background information you're looking for. So to review, in your introduction, you should have your hook, your important information, and your thesis. All right, so those 3 things are what I'm going to look for in your introduction when I grade 2.06. All right, reminders, 2.06, 2.07, and 2.08 due this week on Friday. We will be back to our regular live lesson schedule on Monday. Please call and text me if you have any questions, and thank you guys for watching and participating. Have a great day.